A very good morning to you and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts. I'm standing in for Udwak Amima. Now, recently Senate was asked to enact a law clearly defining the role of the deputy governor in the county governments. And of course there seems to be a growing rift between governors and their deputies in recent months. We remember the very unfortunate incident where Kisumu Governor Jack Ranguma introduced everybody else and left out his deputy Ruth Odinga. We also remember the Machakos Governor Bernard Kiale, who could not make it for the devolution conference, and he said that he was not facilitated by his county because of rivalry with his governor. And of course we also remember Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, who has already started talking about who his next running partner will be, and the most recent incident where Busia Deputy Governor Wangalwa was actually locked out of his office. So what exactly is going on? This morning we're hosting Josh Mangi, the chair of the National Council of Deputy Governors, will be telling us more about exactly what's going on there. And of course with me is David Makali and Mutegi Njau as we delve into that conversation. Mangi, let's just start off with you. You have been called mere spectators in a game of power, people and money. What is your response to that?
That is a very harsh beginning, but I'll tell you that's not true. The assumption that deputy governors are mere players in a power of games and money is not true. The truth is the deputy governors are the deputy CEOs of county governments. We work hard. We are pretty much like general managers in charge of operations. We do operations, we do coordination, and we deputize the governors both in their absence and also even when they are there. There are roles that we do as deputy governors. But you know, one thing we must understand...
that is a constitutional role. You know, that's what the Constitution says.
Yes.
So the role of the deputy governor is the deputy CEO and will deputize the governor if, you know, and will stand in if the governor is away. But that is on paper. Otherwise, we would not be asking Senate to define the role of the deputy governor.
Incidentally, that's not true. The truth is that out of the 47 deputy governors, majority of them work well with their governors. But we have isolated instances like the one you have listed. Machakos, very unfortunate. Busia, very unfortunate, because how do you wet somebody's office? How do you flood somebody's office? Kisumu, very unfortunate, and a few others.
What do you mean very unfortunate? You have an organization which is an organization for deputy governors. When that happens, you can't just come and say, very unfortunate. What have you done about it?
We have met with the chairman of the Council of Governors. We have set up committees that will be looking into solving these differences. Because, you know, governors and deputy governors are not brothers and sisters. These are different people. But sometimes
your brothers and sisters went to a campaigning.
They were partners. They were partners. Now, when reality sets in and competing interests come in, each person tries to protect its own turf. And that's why we went to the Senate and proposed an amendment of the County Governments Act to specifically clearly define the role of a deputy governor vis-a-vis the governor. If you look at the general practice, even in the Central Bank of Kenya, the role of the deputy governor in Central Bank is clearly defined, and part of that is to be the chairman of the tendering committee and other areas. So what we're saying, as deputy governors, it's necessary for the National Parliament and the Senate to clearly define what is the role of the deputy governor, other than that general role of deputizing the county governor.
But doesn't that mirror the national political setup? I mean, the president and the deputy president, the same role that the deputy governor is assigned in the county government is the same one that the deputy president is assigned at the national level. There is no definition that the deputy president shall chair the economic council or something like that.
Incidentally, you must understand that it's only one national president and one deputy.
So is the county government. There's only one governor and the deputy governor.
In the county governments, we have 47 county governors. And 47...
But they're independent of each other. I mean, each of them is a standalone county.
Not exactly. What we want to do is to have a uniform system. We don't want to have a system whereby in Mombasa, the deputy governor does ABCD, but in Busia, the deputy governor does CDEF. So what we're saying is, let's have a uniform system so that what a deputy governor does in Kisii County is the same thing that a deputy governor in Machakos County does.
And what would that role be like? You know, what do you want the roles of a deputy governor to be in all the 47 counties?
Number one, coordination of all executive committee matters. The executive committee in the county government is the equivalent of the national cabinet. So coordination of those roles, coordination of the matters of executive. Number two, operations. And number three, things like performance contracting. The things that the deputy president in the national government does. Yes.
Those things are done by the chief of staff in the office of the president. Coordination, and that is at the county level is also done by the chief of staff of the governor.
No. You see, the chief of staff at the national level is also the head of public service, isn't it?
Yes.
But you know, at the county level, the chief of staff is more of the chief aide of the governor. You see, the chief of staff at the county level is not a clearly defined position. But the national government, the chief of staff is a clearly defined position with a budget, with a portfolio. That's not the case in the county governments.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, let's look at it from what is happening right now. What exactly are deputy governors doing? Give us a summary of what deputy governors do, because people looking out say these are idle people, employed, paid for nothing, hanging around. Most of the time the governors don't want to deploy them to anything because they think they'll give them profile. So what are you doing and what are you earning for?
Number one, deputy governors are in charge of a number of coordinating roles. They first and foremost oversee the day-to-day running of government. I'll tell you what I do in Kisii County. I'm in charge of the day-to-day running of
different ministries.
Different ministries. Number two, I'm in charge of coordinating what the different ministries do. Number three, I am in charge of the day-to-day operations of the county government. Now, when you do this in conjunction with the governor, because the governor is the overall boss. Now, in an organization, when you have the overall boss, it's not the one who goes down to see that implementation has been done. So I'm also in charge of implementation.
So if you do that, then why do you want to be Senate to do something else? If you
because
do that,
if the rules are already
you do that.
Defined.
What's the problem then?
Dagi, as I said earlier, I said that now, for example, is Kisii County. Can I say that the same is happening in Machakos? No. Can I say that the same is happening in Kisumu? Probably no. So we are saying, let what's happening in Kisii County be the same thing that is happening in Mombasa, in Machakos, in Kitui.
What is the relationship between
we want uniform operations.
What is the relationship between you and your governor?
Good.
Just good.
Really?
What is the power sharing agreement?
I think the DG here is being cordial. First of all, I know that the governor in Kisii suspects that Joash Mangi might be looking, to run for the same office he's holding. And therefore,
I like the word suspect.
And therefore, he's very worried about giving you really visible roles that you can play, that will give you profile, and therefore, earn you more support when that time comes. What functional, you talk about being allowed to coordinate the departments and government and so forth. Does he give you a chance to chair meetings? Does he give you opportunity when he's away to actually exercise the powers of governor whenever he's out of town? Or is it just superficial, allowing you to be around?
David,
yes.
First and foremost, as I said earlier, the governors and deputy governors are not brothers. No, this is
yes. That says something.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a normal setup where two people work together or live together, there are bound to be differences here and there. but those differences must be solved amicably. So when you ask me the relation between me and my governor, we have a good relationship. Does that mean that we don't have ups and downs? No. There could be ups and downs, but those are normal situations that are dealt with.
Yeah.
Does the governor allow me to chair meetings? You see, let's not also demonize governors too much. It's not a question of governors allowing deputy governors to chair meetings. The law allows them to chair meetings.
Yes.
I chair majority of the meetings in Kisi County, and I do this as the deputy governor, as the deputy CEO. So in fact, I chair more meetings than the governor does, and I do this for the government. I do this on his behalf.
Yes.
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 I'm just curious, Makali, if I may, how do you handle then your ambitions? Because my assumption is most deputy governors would want to be governors, and this rift, as we're seeing now, is going to get worse in 2016. You know, when we get full gear into election mode, how then will the relationship be between governors and deputy governors? You know, when we're heavy into election mode.
You know, a good manager must realize that at one time is going to leave, and therefore good manager is one who puts in place a good succession plan. Now, when
succession plan to go where? No governor is going anywhere. The governor wants to be a governor in 2017 plus
2 terms.
Governors,
so there's no question of succession.
Mudagi, the governors are only allowed to be governors for 2 terms.
Yes.
So, and I said this about 2-3 weeks ago, that any governor who does not plan on how or who is going to take over from him is making a mistake. Now, who is better placed to take over from the governor in 2022 than a deputy governor? So what my expectation is, the governors and deputy governors need to work together and even plan together a succession plan. Now, are we talking about 2022 or 2017? You know, it depends on where you are. Depends on where you are. Now, there are those who want to work together with their governors so they can run together in 2017, so they can run for governor 2022. There are those who want to run for governor in 2017 against their governors, and there are those who are content with being deputy governors. Now, this has to be looked at from county to county. But if we borrow the example of the American democracy, which we are trying to copy, when a president runs for office with his running mate, the assumption is that they're together for the 2 terms. And in fact, when they go like Obama, when he ran for the 2nd term, it was automatic that his deputy was with him. And that happens.
But
now,
in the case of Nairobi, Evans Kidero has already started, you know, scouting or, you know, saying, I'm going to run with so-and-so.
Then I didn't finish. Allow me to finish and then I come back to that. So that is the norm in mature democracies. But Kenya is a young democracy. This concept of devolution just came the other day. So we are still learning how to do this. So we still, a number of governors still don't know if they run with their deputy governors. Now, will the deputy governors sit back and be kicked out of the system and they go home? No. I won't tell you, and I will say this straight in national TV. Deputy governors are not pushovers. Anybody, any governor who thinks that he's just going to throw his deputy governor through the door and pick another one is making a mistake. He's making a mistake. Because these are people, they campaigned together in 2013, won together, have worked together for the last 2.5 years. So there's nothing that the governor is doing that the deputy doesn't know. They're working together. So that's not somebody you work up one morning.
In some cases, that is not true, because as we have seen in Nyandarua or Laikipia, Waidaka, the governor there, has been facing accusations from the deputy about some misappropriation which came through the Auditor General's report. And he says the governor should account for that. So isn't it true that in some cases, in fact, governors, deputy governors have no clue what the governor is doing, especially where expenditures are concerned, and dubious ones for that matter?
Those are exceptions. If you look at the County Government Act, it defines the county government, or it says the county executive authority shall rest on the following: number 1, the county governor; number 2, the deputy governor; and number 3, the executive committee members. See, any decision that does not go through the executive committee members, so-called the cabinet in the county government, is illegal. So if, you see, people may say what they may want to say, but the truth is that the county governor does not run the county government single-handedly. Decisions of the county government must pass through the county executive committee, where the deputy governor sits. And in the absence of the governor, the deputy governor chairs that committee. So when you say, and you know, I'm not saying that all is good, but that is what's supposed to happen. Now we have exceptional counties, like you've said in Nyandarua, where the deputy governor says he has been excluded from decision making. But you see, the law gives you power to sit in that executive committee where those decisions are supposed to be made. Why would you be excluded?
And we've seen that in Machakos as well.
That's a mistake.
Where Kiala is basically sitting outside the door of the meetings.
What is happening? What is happening in Machakos, if you allow me to use this word, is a theater of the absurd. Look, just follow the law. The Act says the county executive power shall be vested on the county governor, the deputy, and the executive committee members. If you remove the deputy, then that executive committee is not properly constituted. And if it's not properly constituted, decisions made can be challenged.
Are there loopholes in, you know, that allow governors to frustrate the deputy governors?
I would not call them loopholes. I would call them realities of life. At the end of the day, the governor is the boss. And you know, when you are the boss, you can misuse your powers. So are there loopholes? Yes, there are loopholes. But what we're saying is that we are still a young democracy. This office of a deputy governor, and indeed even the office of the governor, is a new creation. So people still do not know how to handle these offices. For example, the office of a governor as the head of government in the county government is not the same as that of the national government of the president with the president. It's not the same. See, the president presides over the over the country, and also presides over the entire economy and treasury of the country. But the governor presides over a county whose money comes from the national treasury. So it's not the same. It's not the same. So these are the realities that we are not used yet. Evolution is a new system. It's a new system, and we want to acclimatize ourselves and get used to it.
So my question to you, which I want to repeat again, is this: what is your role as a Council of Deputy Governors? You are calling the Machakos situation the theater of the absurd. Can't your organization do something to reinstate that deputy governor who is being frustrated?
The Council of Governors, together with the Forum of Deputy Governors, have discussed these matters, and some of these matters I may not want to disclose.
Why not?
Because
it's a matter of public knowledge.
Because it may prejudice the process. But I will tell you that both the Council of Governors and the Forum of Deputy Governors is doing something about it.
But there are other cases as well. You know, there's Busia, there's Kisumu. What happens to them?
The Busia case is a very recent occurrence. The Busia case is a very recent occurrence, and frankly speaking, it came to the limelight last week. The Kisumu case, again, I may not want to disclose everything, but we have held meetings with the governor. We have spoken, and frankly speaking, even years of late, there's been a change. We've held a meeting as the chairman of the Council of Governors and officials from the Deputy Governors Forum and the governor.
You know, one would say that, you know, deputy governors are not using their weight enough, because I think it's the only seat in the land where you cannot actually be impeached. You know, it's the safest seat, so to speak, for the moment. But I don't think, and you know, some people say they're not using their muscle enough.
On the issue of impeachment, you must look at why it is safe. It is safe so that it can save the public from going to elections every time a governor is impeached. You see, the purpose of making sure that deputy governors cannot be impeached is to ensure there's continuity. So that if a governor is impeached, the deputy governor takes over, appoints another deputy governor. And if this governor, who was the deputy, also makes something, he also gets impeached. But if you allowed for the governor and the deputy governor to be impeached together, then this country will be looking at by elections, you know, every other time. every time. But to avoid that, and this is exactly what happened in 1974 with Richard Nixon's case in America. When Richard Nixon and his vice president were about to be impeached, what they did to save America from going to a by-election, the vice president resigned. So Richard Nixon appointed a new vice president, Lyndon Johnson. So when Richard Nixon was impeached, Lyndon Johnson took over and appointed, I think, Humphrey, that gentleman from Minnesota, appointed Humphrey to be the vice president. So for the first time in the history of America, we had a president and a vice president who were not elected. But that saved the American taxpayers from going for elections. That is the principle behind the creation or the safeguarding the position of the deputy governor, so that we don't have county governments going to election every time a governor is impeached. Now, coming to your question, that deputy governors have not used their position effectively, you know, I may agree with that. I may agree with that, that deputy governors have not been focal enough. But that comes with the disadvantage of being number two. So being number two,
but you will always be number two. So what? So what will you do about that?
You want to be competent and capable and doing your work, but at the same time, if you look at the 48 rules of power, you'd be careful not to upstage your boss. It's a very delicate, it's a very balancing act. And frankly speaking, when you accept to be a deputy governor, you have accepted to be number two for that period. But are you going to be number two forever? No. Not necessarily.
So how do you contain a situation where a deputy governor realizes my governor is goofing and is not going to be elected? Will you just sit there and lose with him?
No. That's why I said this is a partnership, this is a marriage, and you know.
So how then are you
in a bad marriage?
Even really life, husbands and wives divorce. Even in partnerships dissolve. So if a governor and a deputy governor are together and it's not working out, it's not working out. But remember, you have a covenant for 5 years. If it's not working out, then after 5 years,
and quite a few partnerships are going to collapse after 5 years.
If it's not working out,
quite a few, yes.
If it's not working out, expect competition.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Looking at your forum of, it's called Forum of Deputy Governors.
Yes.
How do you, to what do you attribute your inability to be more visible and defend the turf of deputy governors? The Council of Governors, of course, has resources. It's a statutory body. Yours is an informal organization. What structures do you have? What resources do you have? Do you have a secretariat? How are you surviving?
Number one, let's not look at, David, very politely. I don't like the way you are describing this as some funny, loose organization. No, this is a formal organization, only that it's not.
It's not
when the law was created, they only created the Council of Governors.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if you go to America, we have the Association of Lieutenant Governors in America. When the Constitution was being made, there was no provision for the position of Association of Lieutenant Governors in America. But as the Constitution developed, because law is a developing process, as the Constitution developed, the Association of Lieutenant Governors in America was created. Now, in Kenya, because we are copying from America, we also started with first Council of Governors. Now, we as deputy governors, it's also our responsibility to create profile for ourselves. So we came up with the Forum of Deputy Governors. It is proposed that this also be anchored in law. Now, there's an act of parliament in the Senate that is being prepared. I think it's on its second reading. And I must admit here, and I politely say so, that the Senate has a little bit dragged its feet in finishing this. Now, a law, if you look at the American law,
Yeah, in the
it was made, but
we understand. I'm just saying.
Very many
but
amendments.
he is not answering the question.
Yeah, the
what
point is,
structures do you have?
What structures do you have?
Secretariat?
What is the level of establishment so far, and how are you making it? Given that there is no provision for budget for you, you have no secretariat. How are you raising money, or are you donating money as deputy governors to set up some office, or how are you operating?
At the moment, we get supported by donors. And we're in the process. We're also requesting for funding from other agencies. At the moment, we work well. At the moment, right now, we work well with the Council of Governors, and we share the Council of Governors Secretariat. We work very well with them.
Okay.
And for example, if we wanted to have a function, we want to do meetings, we share the Council of Governors Secretariat. Now, in terms of raising the profile, it's not just about raising the profile of deputy governors. It's about doing what we are supposed to do as deputy governors. You see, sometimes we don't have to cry that we must be seen. The other day, one of my colleagues spoke very well on TV and said leadership is not about being seen. Sometimes about delivery.
Performance.
Delivering, performance. The question you should be asking is, are deputy governors delivering in their respective counties? The answer will be yes.
All right, we need to take a short break now, and then we'll be back to discuss more right after the break, especially, looking at the solutions and the way forward for deputy governors. However, on our 22422 platform, there's quite some words coming through. We've got Maura here from Kitale who says, just like we ought to get rid of women reps and nominated members of parliament, we also ought to get rid of deputy governors. Their roles are unnecessary and a huge drain on the economy. And we're seeing a lot of similar sentiments, so perhaps it is time that deputy governors come out very clearly to say exactly what they are doing. This is Cheche, the show where opinion counts, and we're hosting Josh Mangi, the chair of the National Council of Deputy Governors.